Lamar Jackson won his MVP unanimously in 2019. The only other player to do that is Tom Brady. So, knowing that, Amber, which of those three do you think is likely to win an MVP this season?
My money's still going to be on Patrick Mahomes, right? Because he's the best, and until somebody proves otherwise or unseats him as so, that's where the safe bet is for me. Patrick Mahomes, yes, it's incredibly hard to do it again. We have seen it done very rarely in NFL history, except for those greats that you just named that are in that conversation. Right. Patrick Mahomes also, I would put him in that conversation at this point in his career. I just have the belief in him. I have the belief in that coach. Until somebody shows me otherwise, to me, Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, the best in football. So he gives the nod to me for MVP.
Really?
Bart's
like writing something. I'm not sure.
Bart's taking notes over there.
He's I don't know what he's
trying to prepare to destroy me over here.
Well, no, for me, Patrick Mahomes, much like LeBron James, it's like voter fatigue, right? Because he's competing against himself, and he's forced to continue to top himself. So I believe that when you think about it, I think the voters are going to want to see somebody new and somebody that's a breath of fresh air. And I think sometimes you go to an oldie but goodie, and I think it's going to be Lamar Jackson because for the first time, we're going to see Lamar Jackson with weapons. We're going to see Lamar Jackson with so much space. It's going to be crazy because now he has space vertically and horizontally because he has vertical threats in Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. You have route runners in Odell Beckham and Rashad Bateman if he can stay healthy. So now you can't put 8 men in a box and flat foot and say, okay, in case Lamar Jackson's going to run the football. So now he's going to be like Michael Vick, where it's going to be they're covered, and guys are doubling receivers down the field, and you're going to give Lamar Jackson, the most dangerous man of all football, that much space to just run. So I think it's not going to be designed runs. It's going to be improvised runs where his guys are covered, but everybody's doubling, and he's going to be able to run for 1,000 yards. He's going to be able to hurt you with that dual threat. Everything that Jalen Hurts did last year, I think Lamar Jackson will be able to do. The big difference is when Jalen Hurts got in the open field, they were first downs. When Lamar Jackson gets in the open field, they're going to be touchdowns, 60-yard touchdowns, because you can't – who's going to get them? The defensive lineman, right? Because you got to double somebody. You got to double Mark Andrews. You got to double Zay Flowers maybe. You got to put one on Odell Beckham. You got to put one on Bateman. Who you got left for the quarterback?
So this question actually, I found it difficult because to choose between both of the guys that you mentioned. For me, it's easy that Patrick Mahomes, the easy favorite here. But Lamar Jackson, that's a guy that I think he has a chance to top his MVP season, because I don't know if you guys know this. Do you know who his wide receivers were in 2019? Was it MVP?
They were literally cones.
Marquise Brown, Willie Snead, Seth Roberts, Miles Boykin, Chris Moore.
Yeah.
When you think about what Lamar has been able to do with so much less. It's hard. It's really hard. I said Mahomes, but I'm so high on Lamar Jackson. And when you think about the amount of injuries that they've had on defense, Marlon Humphrey, they had to go out and get Ronald Darby. This offense might be tasked to do a lot more, which only helps. And the Todd Monken aspect, this is what really excites me. Forget just the players. It is a guy who literally, when you hear him talk about how he wants Lamar to have more ownership in the process. He wants Lamar to feel comfortable. This is a guy who will attack space on the field. He will attack defenses with all the weapons that they have. And I'm so thankful that not only did Lamar get the bag, but he got the players. Because unfortunately, Lamar has shown us what he can do with less. So now that he has more.
No excuses.
Really no excuses. So,
although the pieces that he does have, I mean, there are injury concerns there, right?
Zay Flowers, forget Odell for a second. Zay Flowers, that is the guy that you need to watch.
I'm excited about seeing him as well. I mean, my argument against Lamar, and I don't think it's crazy what you guys are saying by any means, my argument against Lamar is it's not just a new OC and a new playbook from that regard, because obviously Patrick also has a new OC. It's a whole new system. I mean, you mentioned there that he's going to end up running that football. Greg Roman was the run first approach. And Lamar Jackson won that 2019 unanimous MVP in that system. So is this new system, as exciting as I also think it's going to be, and I am really excited to see what it looks like with a more high-flying approach with Lamar Jackson, is it going to be as successful with Lamar? That's the question mark. I don't have as many question marks about Patrick.
Will it be a disappointment if the Ravens miss the AFC Championship game?
I say yes. And I said it before. I think Lamar is almost a victim of Lamar. As a unanimous MVP, in 2019, with the roster that he had, he was still able to shock the world, really. And he's such a dynamic weapon. He's such and what scares me about the Ravens is I understand they've upgraded this roster, and you're excited to see it all come together, because the questions about Lamar throughout his career is, well, you just keep him in the pocket, and you take your chances there, make him throw. All right, make him throw now. Like that, honestly, talking to defensive coordinators, they're like, 8, he's gonna kill us. The only chance we have is to keep him in the pocket. Now, he might be even more dangerous in the pocket. Odell Beckham, I understand, 2 knee surgeries, we don't know what he might be, but even Odell Beckham doesn't have to be rookie year Odell Beckham for the Ravens to be improved. Nelson Aguilar, he's been on a bunch of different teams.
That boy fast.
And Zay Flowers, like that, I'm telling you, book it. This kid is going to be so
Rookie of the year?
special. So special. You know what? Offensive Rookie of the Year to me, between him and Bijan. That's a conversation for another day. I think the fact that the Ravens, I understand the division. Actually, I'm somebody who thinks all 4 AFC North teams are going to get into the playoffs. But I think based on what we've seen of the Ravens, they've been able to do so much with so less, and now Eric DeCosta finally gives Lamar the bag and gives him receivers to work with.
Mm-hmm.
How do you look at this team and say that it wouldn't be a disappointment?
Yeah.
To not get to the AFC title game? Come on.
Well, you look at, even with their backup last year, they pushed Cincinnati to the brink. If he doesn't fumble on the goal line, we're not talking about Joe Burrow being Magic Man. We're talking about him being a disappointment, losing to a backup quarterback. And remember, every year that Lamar Jackson has got injured, the Ravens were in first place. So we understand, but, I don't think outside of Josh Allen, no other quarterback has been forced to be Superman in previous years than Lamar Jackson.
Right.
And why does he get criticized for it in a way where we see Josh Allen?
Because it's the style of play. Because he because his design runs, right? It's because they're saying, is he a running back or is he a quarterback? But if anybody, understands and have been following Lamar Jackson, I met Lamar Jackson, when he won the Heisman, even before he won the Heisman, when I was, doing work in the financial world, which is another time, different story. But, people forget that he was a pocket passer at Louisville.
Yeah.
Right? And so, this whole most complicated run game was something that was created by Greg Roman, not because Lamar Jackson didn't have the ability to throw the ball from the pocket. But my biggest concern, if they don't go to the AFC Championship, isn't this Ravens offense. It's just Ravens defense. Right? For the first time, they don't have a show-fired Hall of Famer at pass rusher. They're dependent on David Ojabo, coming off his second year, Owe. Right, and we already mentioned they signed Ronald Darby last
because Marlon Humphrey had foot surgery.
And I thought it was a mistake that they didn't bring back Marcus Peters. I thought it was a mistake that they didn't bring back Marcus Peters. So I think if they fall short, it's not going to be because Lamar Jackson doesn't have an MVP caliber year. It's because the Baltimore Ravens defense isn't what it's been in years past.
I have to ask you a question, Kimberly, before we move on to Amber. You said that you have all 4 teams from the AFC North going to the playoffs. So what team from the AFC East then do you have going to the playoffs?
Jets.
So Miami, that people get fired. Well, as long as you got the Jets, I'm all good.
Of course you are.
But that means nobody from any other division is going to make it. That means all the other
the Dolphins,
teams,
the Bills.
Right.
The Bills won't make it.
It's the offseason. We do bold predictions, bro. We do bold predictions.
That is a bold prediction.
Right,
I think predicting that the Ravens would find themselves in a conference championship is frankly not a bold prediction. I'm hot on this team. That being said, though, them falling short of it, I don't think would be a massive disappointment because of the competition level. The competition level, even inside that division, to Kimberly's point, right? Nevertheless, the entire conference. I think the Ravens are going to be excellent, but also we're relying a lot on Zay Flowers in that analysis. And I think he's going to be great.
Bateman's back. He's going to be healthy. Yeah.
Right, but the other pieces here, OBJ, we've got a lot of questions about the health concerns with the skill positions. And so
But they're deep. But at least for the first time, they're deep, right? You talk about.
they finally
Aguilar,
gave him
you
help.
talk about Bateman. You talk about. We forget Andrews.
Mark Andrews has been his security blanket all these years.
Yeah, and Duvernay to me is like Cordarrelle Patterson, where he's so versatile. I think this allows him to be in that gadget role that he was designed to be in.
I think he's going to be great. I think there's just a ton of competition there.
That defense.
Yeah.
Be careful.
To be fair, yes, there's competition, but is it not going to be a disappointment if the Jets don't make it to the divisional round? Like, yes, the AFC is loaded, but it's going to be a disappointment if the Bengals don't get there, the Bills. Like that, it is what it is.
Somebody's going to be disappointed.
At least with well, I mean, listen, everybody's going to be disappointed. Everybody wants to be there. But at least with Lamar, he's locked up for a lot of years. With Aaron, I mean, we could actually see him retiring after this season.
Okay.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.